I'm standing at the Rashtriya Prerna Sthal, Husainewala, Firozpur, which is at the border of India-Pakistan. It's a historical place because it is the memorial of my all-time hero, Bhagat Singh, along with Sukhdev, Rajguru and B.K. Dutt. Bhagat Singh inspires all, but to me, he's my personal hero. A true leader in the truest sense. He had character, courage, and just like a true hero, he not only knew the way, he went all the way and finally laid his life for what he believed. I salute him. Jai Hind.
Good afternoon, Namaste, Jai Hind. Today is Shahidi Divas. So let us begin with remembering the martyrs to whom we owe our freedom. I welcome you all to this talk on a sense of leadership. We are fortunate to be born in a nation which has produced several leaders who changed the way the world looked at India. What was it that made them do so? You have the potential to transform your world and the entire world as well. But the key to such transformation lies in your personal growth and helping others grow. This you can do by heightening your leadership qualities. One may wonder, why leadership? What is the need for it, especially in these trying times? The answer, in fact, is that it is only in trying times that a good leader will emerge. Anyone can lead you through good times. Anyone can share the happy anecdotes of their life with you. But the one who leads the way to a tiring trek, a lost course in the forest, or helps you to forge ahead in times when you are struggling is a leader. All these being tough times, and these being tough times, understanding, adopting, and assuming leadership is the need of the hour. And about the question, are leaders born or made? It is not an end state, but a process of constant endeavor and evolution. It is both an art and science, which can be continuously improved upon by experience, learning, practice, and introspection. Field Marshal Slim has very aptly put it that there is nobody who could not improve his power of leadership by a little thought and practice. Field Marshal Sam Manekshaw said, "Give me a man with reasonable common sense and decency, and he can be made a leader." So first, let's understand what leadership means. There are more than 550 definitions of the word leadership in academic literature in the English language alone. It indicates the general confusion that prevails around the subject and also its complexity. Also, leadership can mean different things to different people at different times. It is not possible to condense its meaning into one compartment because it is dynamic and will continue to change, modify, and metamorphosize into different structures as time goes on. So there will be a need to define and redefine it with the passage of an era. However, the basic tenets of leadership remain the same. The earliest recorded treatises on good leadership are more than 5,000 years old. When we read it carefully, we realize that it is relevant for leadership even in today's world. We are all very familiar with the great Indian epic Mahabharata. It has been relayed so many times on TV and it has been rated as one of the best presented serials of all times. I will draw your attention to the last part of the epic when the grand old Bhisham Pitama, who at the age of 114 lay dying on a bed of arrows. At this point, Krishna, the divine guide and advisor of the Pandavas, prays to him to teach the art of leadership to the eldest Pandav, Yudhishthir, so that he would be able to effectively govern the vast kingdom that he had won. Bhisham Pitama lists 36 qualities to be possessed by a leader. It is amazing how these virtues are timeless and apply to a leadership of all eras. The gist of these is as follows. I won't be covering all 36. I've put them into brief 4 points. The first one, he says that a good leader should be pure in thoughts, words, and deeds. He should not cherish malice. He should serve others with respect and humility. The second point, he says that a leader should have the power to accomplish his mission without unnecessary aggression and cruelty. The third, that a leader leads by actions and not by empty speeches. Fourthly, a leader gives proper credit to those who help him and does not take on the victory as his individual accomplishment and values others' opinions even if it is contrary to his own. I would like to narrate an incident from Dr. MPJ Abdul Kalam's life, which he is often talked about in his videos. In 1979, Dr. Kalam was the project and mission manager for the launching of SLV-3 satellite. It had taken his team 10 years to arrange for this launch. And when finally it was time for the launch to take place, the computer started beeping and said, "Don't launch, don't launch, don't launch." Dr. Kalam looked at his team, and the team members, the experts, told him that they had enough fuel. There was some fuel problem, but the team said that the problem was manageable and that Dr. Kalam should give the go-ahead for the launch. Dr. Kalam was the one who had to take the decision, and he did so. He said, "Yes, the launch shall take place," and they pressed the button. It so happened that the satellite took off, and soon it dipped into the Bay of Bengal. 10 years of hard work, 10 years of money, 10 years of time just went down the waters. There was a lot of hue and cry, and the press wanted answers. At that time, Professor Satish Dhawan, who was the chairman of ISRO, he came to the team and he said, "There's a press conference and I'm going out to give them the answers." He went out, he faced the questions, but he promised the press that he would be able to relaunch the satellite within the next 3 years. And truly so, in 1980, the SLV was relaunched, and this time it was a success. The press again wanted answers. The entire country was celebrating. Professor Dhawan came into the team's room and he said that this time Professor Dhawan would not be taking the press conference, and he asked Dr. Kalam to go and face the conference. What does this show? That when there was failure, he took on all the blame on himself and protected his team, and when the team won, he gave them all the credit and did not take any of it himself. This is the quality of a great leader. So you see that the basic virtues of purity, humility, living by example, and respecting and giving credit to subordinates is timeless. Mahakavya is a term used for the short and crisp eternal truths which have been articulated in the most ancient literature of humanity, that is the Vedas. The Mahavakya on leadership has been articulated in just 4 words: to be, to do, to see, and to tell. Have a look at this diagram. To be is the source of leadership. One must be a person of character and knowledge to be a leader. To do is the style of leadership by personal example. People may doubt what you say, but they will never doubt what you do. To see and to tell are the functions, the tools and techniques of leadership. Let's deal with to be first. To be means the aggregate of all there is in a person. It is composed of the person's values, qualities, and his knowledge. In other words, it encapsulates his whole being. So to be is the beginning and end of leadership. This simple sentence conveys the eternal truth that the potential and effectiveness of a leader are in direct proportion to the strength of his to be. That is why in this diagram that I showed you, the to be is the largest component. I restate this again, that 88 to 90% of the to be of a leader is his or her character. Each individual is a bundle of virtues and weaknesses of the head and the heart. The resulting individuality of a person from this balance of good and bad qualities is his character, and this is reflected in his conduct. The strength of character of a person is an indicator of his leadership potential. This has to be accompanied by knowledge, for character without knowledge will only lead to indecision, and knowledge without character will put a ceiling to his potential. There has to be a balance so that all the components of character and knowledge support one another. We need an entire session to discuss the various qualities which make the to be of a leader. But if I have to put it in one sentence, I would say that a leader cannot expect from others what he himself is not. We move on to the next, that is to do. To do indicates the best style of leadership. And the best style is to lead by personal example, to practice what we preach. A personal example can be set only if the to be of the leader is worthy of emulation. Phonies who pretend to be what they are not can be quickly found out. You can smell them from a mile. Let me give you an example of how the conduct of a leader can influence the outcome. Alexander, he was at the head of 30,000 soldiers and he was crossing the endless, dreaded desert in Asia Minor. It was summer and the troops were thirsty. They had completely run out of water, but they kept marching. The men could endure better in misery when the misery was shared, and Alexander was moving along with them. One party was moving ahead and their aim was to go and find some water, which they finally did. They found a gully and they were able to scoop out some water from it. They carried the water, and the moment they reached Alexander, they dropped that water in a helmet, and they brought it to Alexander to drink. Alexander took the helmet, he thanked them profusely, and then, in the view of the entire troops, he dropped the water down on the ground. So extraordinary was the effect of this action that the water wasted was as good as a drink for every soldier. This is an example of proof of endurance and genius for leadership. With that, we move on to the next component, that is to see. To see implies that the leader must be in complete touch with the realities of the environment. He should have the fullest possible information regarding the problems or the tasks to be handled. Only then can they evaluate the options that they have to make a sound decision and evoke a realistic plan of action. Seeing involves actually going down to the ground to see what is happening. You cannot make decisions while sitting in air-conditioned offices. This is actually a decision-making process and is basically a common sense process that we subconsciously adopt in performing almost every task, like crossing the street, getting a team ready for a tournament, buying a house, setting up a business or factory, or fighting a battle. It is seldom that a clear-cut option with all advantages emerges from the process. There are always uncertainties, imponderables, unforeseeable developments, and human frailty, and so on. To see is even more important at the implementation stage of any work. There are always difficulties and obstacles in the way of carrying out a task. Therefore, proper feedback and seeing the progress of the work on the spot is absolutely essential. Then only can a leader show others how to overcome the problems. There are legends galore about India's best known soldier, Field Marshal Manekshaw. One such incident is about how he, as the Chief of Army Staff in 1971, confronted the then Prime Minister, Mrs. Indira Gandhi, on the Bangladesh issue. When Pakistan cracked down in East Pakistan, hundreds and thousands of refugees started pouring into India, into West Bengal, Assam and Tripura. The Prime Minister held a cabinet meeting in her office and she summoned her Chief of Staff. She said, "I want you to enter Pakistan." And he responded, "That means war." And she said, "I do not mind if it is war." And he said, "Are you prepared?" "I certainly am not." This is the end of April. the Himalayan passes are going to open and there could be an attack from China. He turned around to the Prime Minister and said that the rains were about to start in East Pakistan, and when it rains there, it pours and the whole countryside is flooded. The snows are melting and the rivers would become like oceans, so all their movement would be confined to the roads. Manekshaw told Mrs. Gandhi that the Air Force would not be able to provide support because of the climatic conditions. And then he said, "Now Prime Minister, give me your orders." He turned to her and said, "And before you open your mouth, if you want, I can send in my resignation on grounds of health, mental or physical." And she said, "Everything you told me is true." "Yes," he says, "it is my job to tell you the truth, and it is my job to fight, but it is also my job to fight to win, and so I have told you the truth." Manekshaw apparently had his way as the Bangladesh war took place 7 months later, given the army forces ample time for preparation. We now come to the last component, which says to tell. It means to convey to others what the leader wants them to do. Telling is effective if the instructions of the leader are clearly understood, and this happens when the channel of communication is through the heart and depends entirely on the strength of the to be and to do of the leader. It has the good quality. If a leader has the good qualities, knowledge, and he leads by personal example, then very few words are necessary to convey what a leader wants done. Proficiency in communication skills is a great tool to have, but character communicates more eloquently than anything we say or do. That is what Emerson, the famous American philosopher, wanted to convey in his famous words. "What you are shouts so loudly in my ears that I cannot hear what you say." If you are able to be knowledgeable and have strength of character, if you are able to do what you expect others to do by personal example with diligence and fortitude, if you are able to see the ground realities and formulate a plan to achieve the objective, and finally, if you are able to inspire others by touching their hearts and making them aspire for what they never thought they could, then you are already a leader, my friend. Remember, the quest for leadership is first an inner quest to find the true you and lead yourself. At some point in life, we will all need someone to lead us in the correct direction, and at some point in time, you will be required to lead people in the right direction. You will find a lot of leaders who will know the way and who will show you the way, but go one step further, hold the hand and also go the way. Jai Hind.